Hello and welcome to the tale of Naarifin the Skald. This is our session 0, our episode 0, I suppose, where we'll be setting up the character and getting our mods all sorted out. So as you can see, we are loading right into character creation because we're doing the alternate start mod, so that way we can start in this cell, get all of our MCM stuff taken care of and set up before we actually go through the thing at Helgen. So we are indeed starting with a dude, but he's not going to be a Nord like the default that kind of looks like that one guy from the WWE, if I recall. We are going to go with a Breton, and we are going to start with, where'd it go? That's what I get for trying to use the keyboard to control things. We're going to start with this preset. However, our character is only 25 years old, whereas this fellow looks more like he's in his late 30s to early 50s. So, don't want his skin super pale, but I also don't want it super ruddy either. I think that works right there. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and take care of his hair. On his father's side, he gets this nice longer hair, and it is nice red. We're going to go ahead and start with this somewhat bushy beard, only somewhat. Like, that's how I would wear my beard. Well, I mean, except for the part where it actually connects to the mustache. If I had the skill to trim the sideburns and the bottom there at different lengths with keeping it in a cohesive shape like that. I don't. Like, honestly, when it comes to visual art, that is one of my weakest traits. Even though it's something I've always desperately wanted to be good at. But it's one of those things where it's like the amount of time that I would have to put into it just wouldn't really be worth the returns I'd get. We're also going to change his eye color to these pretty green eyes right here. Let's go back to face, and isn't there a thing for age? There it is. I'm going to de-age him a bit. It's interesting because de-aging him, is it just me, or is that making the lines in his forehead slightly more prominent, which wouldn't make sense. You'd think it'd be the other way around. But anyway, there's our 25-year-old Breton, looking quite Nordic. As makes sense. He is definitely of Nordic ancestry. We give him slightly more elfier ears. Just represent that Breton ancestry on the other side. He is, of course, a Breton himself. And his brow, we're going to give him something a little bushier. Don't quite like that pointedness, but there we go. Those are some decent brows. Just wish that it was easier to tell that they match his hair. Don't think we need to change his mouth at all. Ah, that's right, I wanted to change his complexion. That's what actually makes him look younger. There we go. Because, I mean, he's always taken good care of himself. He has been a little on the vain side. scars. I really don't think he's got any facial scars. If he's got any scars, they're probably lower on his body. Ah, yes. This one always makes me think he looks like he's on his way to a football match. Or, soccer match. Game, I guess, for my fellow Americans. I don't know, those look a little too tribal. Like, maybe if he was, like, Reachman Breton, but he's not. We'll go with these. While this black looks kind of nice, especially with his fairly pale skin and those green eyes, I think I want to go with something a little more mystical looking. Or maybe something a little more edgelord looking. I paint my eyes with the blood of my enemies. Yes, I've freshly painted my eyes with the blood of my enemies. Oh, there it is. I've freshly painted my eyes with the blood of my enemies. Oh, it's dried a bit the next day and gotten and darkened. We're actually going to go with this deep blue purple here. Because I like it. I think it's got kind of a mystical look to it. Purple and green always work well together. And I know we commented on his elf ear a bit, so we're just gonna make the points a little bit pointier. I think we want to unbreak that nose a bit. Nose is probably under face. Let's look at our nose types. It's a little too pointy. Oh, no. That, like, messes up the bridge there. Long, still looks like it's been broken too many times. No. So we are definitely spending some time picking his nose. A little pointy. No. No, definitely not. Kinda like this one. Kinda sticks out a bit, gives him some more character, without being like super big, or having a weird bump in the middle. So I think we're gonna end up with 16, but just let me take a look at some others. 18's not bad. But I think I'm still leaning towards... What is that? That kind of reminds me of the trolls from Warcraft. I'm sorry, from Warcraft 2. There weren't trolls in Warcraft. And that reminds me of goblins from various sources. Yeah, we'll go back to nose 16. Want to make it a little higher, maybe? Yeah, I think that works. Maybe change its length a bit. Oh, that's actually making it stick out more and be pointier. No, that's too much like he's one of the fair folk. We'll just go with that default. Well, not default, but where it was. Alright, so there is our man right there. I think he is ready to go, so is this who I want to be? Okay. And no, his name is not Prisoner. I know, you're all disappointed. I mean, show of hands in the chat. How many of you have actually played with a character named Prisoner because you really wanted to play, but you were too lazy to come up with a name? I'll admit I've done that once or twice. Did I say show of hands in the chat? I meant in the comments. This isn't a stream. Now you may ask yourself, Naarifin? For a Breton that you've already established has Nordic ancestry? And yes, Naarifin. I know it's an Altmer name. I know it's an infamous Altmer name. But I'm sure it'll come up at some point during gameplay. And Foxfang, the clan name of his father's people. And now we'll start installing mods and configuring MCM menus. We'll give it a moment to do that thing. Yep, we're just aimlessly running around in this cell while some things run in the background. Alright, I think we're good to start. Alright, apocalypse spells, nothing needs to be altered there. At your own pace, College of Winterhold, Companions, Thieves Guild, nothing, all the defaults for that are pretty good in my opinion. What that one does is it basically slows things down so that you're not going within the span of like a week from I just walked up to the Companions as a raw recruit and now I'm the Harbinger. Or like the same with the College of Winterhold or the Thieves Guild. It actually makes you do some more of their types of stuff. Like in the case of the Companions, you actually have to do some more of their Radiant quests before the storyline quests will pop up. So you actually have to like spend time being a companion, doing companion stuff, before you move up ridiculously in the ranks. I think it may also have some other requirements regarding your combat skills, but yeah, things like that. And then the College of Winterhold, instead of you having to do Radiant quests, because it doesn't do that, but like the main storyline of the College of Winterhold quests will get delayed based on your skills with magic. You will have to have one of your magic skills at a certain level before you can progress in that. And I believe you have to have some of the ritual spells, some of the ritual quests done before you yourself can become Archmage. So you're actually a powerful mage, instead of having a case like in Gopher's playthrough with Leonard, where someone completely ill-suited for the job is sitting in that position basically as a political figurehead. I mean, yeah, there are reasons for that, but I don't want him to be a political figurehead for the College of Winterhold. I want him to be an actual Archmage if and when he ever decides to follow the path of the clever man. Alright, so as you saw, I also disabled all the things for the main quest for that. If this was just a casual playthrough, I would enable those because I usually don't like interacting with those quests too soon. I mean, nothing's more annoying than I just got to Winterhold. I am ridiculously overburdened, and I need, well, not Winterhold, I'm sorry, Whiterun. I'm ridiculously overburdened, and now I need to I need to sell all my gear, and oh great, there's a dragon attacking. So in a lot of my most of my casual playthroughs, I end up waiting to engage, to even do Bleak Falls Barrow until fairly late in the game. Like, I think I was level 80 the first time before I engaged with that, the first time I actually played through the main storyline. Okay, so then we're getting to become a bard, which is the first mod I ever used way back in the day when it was a much lighter mod. Because it's like I went and joined the Mages College, not the Mages, the Bard's College in Solitude, and I had all the instruments in my inventory, but you still don't get to play them, and that really bugged me so much. It was probably the most disappointing thing I've ever had happen in the game. I mean, aside from other mods that didn't quite work out, or like didn't play nicely with each other. And also, as I've said, the title of this playthrough is The Tale of Naarifin the Skald. And that's with a question mark at the end. Because who knows how it's going to go. But that is his current objective. He has come to Skyrim to go to the Bard's College, to train as a Skald. But who knows how that's going to get derailed. It all depends on what randomness the game throws at us. And then we've got Campfire. Now, the Holchesko suite here of Campfire, Frostfall, and Last Seed are some of my absolute favorites. And now that Last Seed is finally a thing, I'm so glad I get to use that, since it's actually tooled to work specifically with Campfire and Frostfall. I mean, the few years in which I was using Realistic Needs and Diseases weren't too bad. I mean, that one was a good mod too, but it's nice just having that inborn compatibility of having been designed to work together by the same author. So speaking of Frostfall, we will go ahead and enable that now. And we'll give that a moment to enable. And so now we'll configure that. So we are going to disable fast travel. Just because fast travel is one of the things that makes the game... I mean, on your first couple of playthroughs, when you're like just dying to get through quests faster because you want to have more of the story, yeah, it's fine. But then after a while it just gets too boring. It like feels like the game is moving too fast, and sometimes you're just not really exploring the map at all, because you're just going from point A to point B super quick, especially if you've already discovered both of them. But then when you haven't, and you've got to travel overland, there's just so much more that happens. Especially when you have a bunch of mods installed as well, that add various things to the world. We're also going to disable waiting while outdoors, just because there's too many random things that could happen. Do not use dummy queries. I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean, but okay. So we are going to have to make some alterations to our current clothing. Oh, I see, it wasn't actually done. I didn't wait for that symbol up there. Now we can go take care of that. So on our armor and clothing, we are going to have to be a little cheaty here and manually set the protection on these pretty much to max, just to be on the safe side, because otherwise, with how cold it is around Helgen, we will pass out from hypothermia before we even get our head cut off. Or, I mean, before we're even at the chopping block, because I mean, I'm assuming most of you here have played Skyrim, so hopefully I'm not giving too many spoilers. We all know you don't get executed. Although I've always thought that that would be a fun mod just to like install on someone's computer just to mess with them. If you had a mod that made it so that your character did get executed, and then just seeing the look on someone's face, it's like they've made their character, they're going through that very beginning, they walk up, and then it's lights out as their head rolls around on the floor. So yeah, as you can see, our rough spun tunic and our foot wraps we're setting to as warm and as covering as we possibly can, so that we don't have to deal with that issue. On Growl Werebeast, I do want to change it so we are invulnerable during transformation. We want to change Call of the Blood to maybe 5% per night, so a roll on a 1d20. I mean, a 1 in 5 chance, the default, that's a little game-breaking, especially if I'm not wanting to have to reload saves during the middle of the game all the time, because I died because I got mobbed by every citizen available, or every guard available, because I turned into a monster. But I mean, that is, of course, assuming that I turn into a monster. Here it would also let us become a werebear instead of a werewolf, but I think I'm good being wolfy. Not settings, that's not what I meant to go to. So why not, let's take a quick cloak. Okay, I do have it set like that. Alright, so back to configuring our mods. Hunterborn, one of my favorite companions to the whole Chesko suite. So this one will make hunting in Skyrim a little more realistic. We'll get to skin our carcasses, we'll get to harvest various ingredients from them, and materials like bones, which we can grind into bone meal or carve into other things. Like if I recall, if we get a large bone, we can carve it into a flute, which is definitely something that Naarifin knows how to do. In fact, he's probably still salty with the Imperials for confiscating the first ever flute that he carved for himself, along with his tuition for the Bard's College, and his nice clothes and his other instruments. All because he wanted to cross the border into Skyrim, and no one bothered to tell him that, hey, that's not okay right now. Let's go ahead and set up our Hunterborn here. Don't need to change anything there. You want to remove the manual loot option. Going to require hunting knife. And claws work as hunting knife. I mean, we don't need that. We're not a Khajiit or an Argonian. We don't have claws, but whatever. Pelt values, we are going to make pelts valuable. Because, I mean, it's a cold land. Pelts would be valuable. Especially on things like bears. Our material yield will go with normal. Is he did learn how to hunt on the plains around White... I mean, not the plains around Whiterun. The plains around the Imperial City. I think they were plains. I mean, it all used to be a jungle, but... Or, no, it didn't, because it was changed retroactively. Elder Scrolls lore is really weird sometimes. So we're going to change the meat yield to a custom setting, because that default of 12% still has us, like, overloaded after killing a wolf or two. So we're going to change it to is 2%. Yes, I know, that's not much meat at all. Why not just change it to single cut? Because on larger animals, this is still going to be a hefty amount of food. Actually, no, not 2%. We're going to move it down to 1%. Because that's still going to be more than a single cut. If we're killing a 1,000-pound mammoth, we're still going to get, like... And I think they're more than that. We're still going to get, like, 100 pounds of mammoth meat. So it'll be a little more realistic than having a single cut, but not so much so that we feel like we're throwing away thousands of pounds of meat all the time. And now I'm just imagining a Skyrim with just discarded, rotting meat laying everywhere. Because then eventually that's what it ended up like. Especially if you went with one of the really high yield ones. So knives at merchants, the hunting knives will be available at some merchants. It won't be common, it won't be rare. Uncommon, I find, is a good setting for that. Otherwise, it gets to a point where it's like, I need some of the things that I would get with having a knife to make a knife, but since I don't have a knife, I can't make a knife. And because I can't make a knife, I don't have a knife. So you at least want to be able to build your first, buy your first iron or steel hunting knife. And then from there, you can go ahead and make your own later. Well, that's all good. We do want corporeal dragons just because it's fun. Don't need any of that. And their Hunterborn is ready to go. I'm glad you're here. The MCM is doing its thing where it takes a moment. So you gotta exit for a moment, and then, as I said, I'm glad you're here. And our general settings here, for some reason, it tends to default. Well, it's not anything on general setting we need to change. It defaults to this embrace that requires another mod that we're not running, just because there were a bunch of other things we have to run to go with that, and it's really not worth it. So for our follower there, we are going to allow the salute as well as the vanilla hug. I mean, I'm not going to say that we can't salute a female friend. We're just going to default to hugs. I don't know, that sounds kind of inappropriate. And we can salute our pets. Alright, family settings. Not that he has any family in Skyrim yet. Well, he does, but we'll get to that. So, the vanilla hug or the salute, because, I mean, sometimes you want to show your appreciation for your spouse, but neither of you's really in the mood for physical affection. Oh, I mean, salutes are appropriate. Same with children. I mean, you want them to be able to have body autonomy and not hug if they don't feel like hugging. We don't want the load game hug, because, I mean, I don't want... Ideally, you wouldn't necessarily know that I've just loaded the game. Because who knows, maybe I recorded in a massive, like, 6-7 hour session. Or sometimes maybe I've only recorded a little bit. And having that, oh, we just randomly got hugged by someone because we loaded the game is, would be somewhat immersion, well, not immersion breaking, but narrative breaking, I suppose. And nothing else really needs to be changed. Alright, immersive spell learning. We're going to start that. So that's going to make it so that when we get a spell book, we're going to make notes on it, and then have to study those notes before we learn the spell. Because otherwise it's ridiculous. You find a tome for a master level spell, you've only got a 15 in that skill, and you've instantly learned it. Even though you probably are nowhere near having enough magicka to actually be able to cast it. And really, with that skill level, you should. But with this, it will make it so that we do have to study it, and the higher our skill in... the higher the level in our skill related to that spell, the less time it will take to study. Also, the higher level of the spell, the more time it will take to study. But we are going to change that we get first-person messages, because that's how we roll in this playthrough. We have the In Your Own Thoughts mod. And then we're going to have it remove our studied notes, so that we don't have to remember which ones we've studied already. They'll just be gone. It's like I automatically tossed it when I was done, because I didn't need them anymore. Now, this... Whereas I love the general idea of the mod, I do think its default amount of time is a little over the top. So we are going to change that to 75% of that. Because I personally find that to be a decent balance. The message box will pop up whenever you pick. Oh, I never even noticed the setting before. I don't need it, it'll just make notes when we pick the thing up. Now, this. Whether spell tomes that are transformed into notes are being destroyed. Setting this to true is quite cheaty, obviously. No, it is not. Because, yes, you can, once you've made your notes, you could, in theory, sell that spell tome back. But you're not going to get the same amount back. And it's very, like, immersion breaking to me that because I read this book, the book is destroyed. Now, if it's my notes, I'm making the conscious decision that I'm tossing my notes at the end because I don't need them anymore. But a book? It's a book. I'm not going to destroy that. I'm going to put that on my bookshelf. Maybe I'll go back and sell it to someone else. Or maybe, just maybe, I'll pass it on to my friend Lucian and say, hey, learn this spell too. So I don't think that's quite cheaty at all. I mean, unless you've got some mods that make it that you're some super merchant where you're going to sell this book for more than you bought it for. But if that's the case, I mean, you're just doing that anyway. So that's my little rant about disagreeing with that mod author. So immersive armors, armor options. We're going to disable the Daedric Lord, the Dragonbone Ebon Steel, Dragonhide Robe, and Dragon Knight armor from being found in the wild. Did I just disable them from crafting? I did disable them from crafting. I didn't mean to do that. I just don't want those to be just out there. Because, yeah, unless you, the main character, are out there selling your dragon bones, selling your dragon scales for people to use, then no one's going to have that. I mean, unless it's an heirloom from thousands of years ago, when dragons still roamed. Or I don't know, maybe an import from Akavir. I think there's a dragon still over there. Or there were a few dragons more recently. That was all we needed to do on there. Shield options. Nothing needs to be changed there. What I find interesting is these painted spiked targes are defaulted to not being craftable or being distributed into the game. So if the default is for them to just not exist, then why? Why even include it? Alright, so we're going to change the shaman robe to be unarmored, because, I mean, it's a cool looking robe, and I think it's actually appropriate for someone who's trying to go unarmored. Tribunal color robe, but we're going to go with green because I like green. Everything else here is already how I like it, so there we go. So the immersive HUD, nothing needs to be changed there. Immersive world encounters, I don't really know enough about that one to know whether or not I'd want to change anything. We'll give it a moment again. Before we go back into that, we're using another mod that gives us our a starting spell choice. Because otherwise, it gets to that point where it's like, you want to focus on magic other than restoration or destruction, but no, you've got to survive. You've got to gain a level, or 2, or 3, before you even get anywhere where you can get a spell to start working on. Like, very much, by the time you can get any decent spells in Illusion, those spells are too weak to work on anything that you're facing. So what this one does is it gives us these 5 scrolls, one for each school of magic, and we'll cast that, and it will give us a starting spell choice. So in this case, we can learn how to make light, or something about trees, which gives us oak flesh. But we're going to go with candlelight. And we'll do conjuration. We will go ahead and go with conjure familiar, the default for a Breton anyway, which is really frustrating. So it's like, I want to be good at conjuration. So you're really hindering yourself at your journey with conjuration in the early game if you play anything but a Breton. Another thing like that is how Dunmer gets the basic lightning spell, which I could get here, or I could get the freezing cold or fire. We're going to go with fire. So I've got 2 different ways of making light. And fire is also more practical in the wilderness and such. Just over all around, flames would have more practical application than the other 2. I mean, I suppose frostbite would be decent if I need to preserve things. Or if it's really, I mean, if I go to a really warm area, that might be useful as well. But I think overall flames has the most practical application, so that is what he knows already. And listen to me ramble. So yeah, Dunmer get the lightning one. And that spell tome is the first spell tome you come across. So it's kind of like they're cheated. It's like, here, have this extra spell that every other character also gets access to within like 10-20 minutes of gameplay. So now we're going to go and set our starting illusion spell. We like to inspire confidence. I mean, it's what bards do, right? And then restoration. We're also going to go with the standard default healing spell here. I mean, we could go with the ward, but I don't think that's really necessary. And also, especially since we're playing on legendary difficulty, I would be at such a disadvantage, survivability-wise, without healing, at least until we've got a friend or two. So we've set that up. We'll get back to our MCM things as soon as we just go ahead and set some of those up as favorites already. Alrighty. Then back to our MCM. We did Hunterborn, we did those guys. There's nothing to do with that or that. Imperius doesn't need anything either. That's another thing. On top of the Chesco mods, we're also using the heavier of... sorry if I am butchering this. Seon. We're using the heavier of his... I'm assuming gender now. We are using the heavier versions of their mods. Imperius, Racials, Ordinator perks, and what was the other one? The Standing Stones one, and we're also using his Winter Sun Faiths. There I went assuming gender again. Oh well. Sorry if I have got that wrong. I am definitely open to being corrected about such things. So we're going to run a jewelry limiter, because it's always bugging me that we can't wear more than one ring. I mean, I've worn more than one ring in real life before. I used to have a wedding ring on one hand and my Clawdaw ring on the other, just because I liked having both. Although technically the Clawdaw ring should have gone on the same finger as the wedding ring, but whatever. I mean, my heart was still captured, so there we go. Go ahead and activate this one. Give it a moment. I don't know why my fists are out. Oh, because I was doing the spell thing. Now what we're going to do is limit it to 4 rings, 2 on each hand, and 2 necklaces, because, I mean, there's really no reason you can't wear more than one pendant. I mean, it's not like any of the jewelry ends up being like chokers or things where it would interfere with something else. And even then, unless it's a really heavy choker, it's not going to interfere with like another pendant on a cord or thin chain. But we're going to go with 2 just so it's not like ridiculous. So that way I can wear my Amulet of Mara on top of whatever my actual amulet that I prefer to use is. So that way everyone can still go and say, "Ooh, is that an Amulet of Mara I see?" And then I'll be yes. But at the same time, I'm still wearing my other thing. Maybe my Jib's amulet or whatnot. Who knows? Or one of the cool, or one of the other cool pieces that I think Legacy with the Dragonboard adds. Alright, so as far as these things go, on which fingers they're going to be showing, we're going to go with our index fingers and our ring fingers. We're not going to have pinky or thumb or middle finger rings. I don't know why it says pointer finger, it's called an index finger. But maybe it's a regional dialect thing, I don't know. And now it's time to go on to Last Seed. Last Seed will be enabled. Waiting for Lassie to start up. Is it gonna pop me up a message like Frostfall did? I don't remember. Oh, we'll give it a moment. So while we're giving that a moment, a little more about Naarifin Foxfang. Naarifin was born in the year 176 on the 30th of Rain's Hand. And it's still doing a few things there, it looks like. To his mother, Osette Dareni, and his father, Sigtrigger Foxfang. Unfortunately, at the time of his birth, his father was no longer with us, having died during the Markarth incident. So one of his goals, one of his earliest goals, on his way up to the Bard's College, is to stop in at the graveyard in Falkreath and to leave some Haunting Brewmead, his father's favorite, on his father's grave. Now we can go back there. A little more about his family. He does have a half-sister who is in her late teens. Her name is Svea Tideborn. Because apparently his mother has a thing for Nord dudes. Particularly ginger Nords. Hey, you like what you like, right? Alright, so our primary needs, we're not going to set up auto eat and drink. Needs affected by regenerate. Your needs will decrease more quickly when your health, stamina, and magicka is regenerating. No, that's a little too much, a little too involved in my opinion. Weight and price will stay at their normals. Alcohol, scoma, and disease. Oh, apparently this is one of those mods that remembers the things that I've set it to in the past. For some of these things, at least. Oh no, it doesn't. Never mind. I was looking at this wrong. So I like the additional diseases being added. Enable progressive diseases. Yes, definitely want that. Shrines increase disease resistance. Priests cure diseases. Cure disease potion behavior are unique. If I felt like adding the mod that would add a recipe for every single one of those, sure. But no, our cure disease potions are going to be generic. They're just going to be the potion that cures diseases. Shrines will only increase disease resistance. I'm fine with that. They don't need to heal diseases. Priests will already be able to do that, and I'll be able to use cure disease potions. Now, the first time I used this, and Shrines did that, and we had all the unique potions, I could never find the potions for the diseases I needed, and I'd always be somewhere where there was no actual priest that would help me out. And that was really frustrating. So it's like I've got 3 or 4 different diseases, and I just have them for a few days with all those penalties. That was not a good time. I mean, I wouldn't want to think that healthcare is that bad in the Empire. Okay, it's only a 10% chance of disease from dirty water. That's cool. I like those odds. Food spoilage. I like changing these a bit, but I think they're fine. Right, that's all fine. That's all fine. Alright, so hotkeys for these. Our hotkey for well-being is N. Oh, I actually have to click the thing. There we go. N. It's what I've used in the past. I've gotten used to it. I like it. Provisions eat, we will set as comma, and provisions drink, we will set as full stop, and then provisions manage, we will set as B. Okay, good. B wasn't anything else already. Unbound intensity, I'm nowhere near even having that yet. And we don't have hotkeys for those ones, which is fine. Right, that's all good. That's all good. Let's exit the menu for a moment. Let it do its thing in the background. And now we'll go back to our mod configuration. So we just did last seed. Nothing needs to be changed on the Legacy of the Dragonborn stuff. I mean, one's literally just a checklist. Lucian, we want to go ahead and enable that he knows, can use, and will use his 3 spells. He doesn't have a player name for us. I mean, I was kind of thinking about this whole backstory where he calls me the wrong name because he kind of remembers me, but not really. Because I mean, we are both from the Imperial City. I know I haven't mentioned that yet, but now I have. And it's quite possible our paths would have crossed at some point, but that's not canon to the story yet. We'll see how I feel like role-playing it when we get there. Nothing I need to change on there. Nothing I need to change on that one. This is one of my favorite lightweight mods, made by one of my favorite YouTubers, Gopher. It just makes it so that as you progress through the game, you can get buffer. I know someone made a companion mod for it, where you actually have to maintain your muscle mass, and if you just don't do anything that would maintain it for a while, it will start to decrease. But that just seems like a bit much. I mean, yeah, it's more realistic, and it would probably be fun at some point. Maybe if and when there's ever a second Skyrim playthrough. Although hopefully by the time it's time for that, we'll have Elder Scrolls 6 to play. Or who knows, maybe we'll go... Oh! And Skyblivion. Yes, that's on the horizon too. Alright, nothing needs to be changed there or there. Shout Organizer, we do need to change something there. So this lets you remove all those extra powers that mods add that you have no use for at all. You don't even, I mean, half the time they're for debugging and such, but I don't think I've ever needed to use any of those from those kinds of mods. So this one remembered that I set it to there last time, so that's good. Spell Organizer would do the same thing if we had any weird spells that were added by mods that we don't want to have to deal with. Nothing needs to be changed for Summer Mist, or Slot, or Vigilant. Wearable lanterns. We do want those to require fuel. We want it on the right front. Yeah, I know, if I had a lantern I'd have to I'd have to re-equip it right now. And then automatic for the mode will be automatic. And that's good for that. And then nothing needs to be changed on Winter Sun or Worm's Tooth. So we're done with our MCM mod configuration. So now I will talk to you about that shout organizer. So we're going to go in here and go through powers. Look at all these powers that we already have. I don't want most of these clogging this up. I want to keep build campfire. I don't want to kill. I don't want to keep that. I want to keep forage from Hunterborn and harvest wood. But like primitive cooking, nah. I'll just cook with my actual campfire. It'll have an interface for that. Scrimshaw we definitely want to keep. And that's pretty much it. So we'll go ahead, we'll equip Citizens Control here. And then we just press our line thingy, and then it is removed. See, it's no longer over here. Same for configure auxiliary armors. And there we go. Examine foodstuff, don't need that. Oops. This one either. Forage I'm keeping, harvest one I'm keeping, lantern toggle we don't need. And goodbye lantern toggle. Harvest wood we're keeping, options Hunterborn we do not need. Goodbye options Hunterborn. Options wearable lantern. Primitive cooking I don't want to keep. Oops. Keep pressing escape when I mean to press P. Oops, I harvest one. Scrimshaw I'm keeping. Sense direction is pointless. I know how to read a map. I mean, I suppose if I didn't have the arrow pointing my direction on the map, then that would be useful and necessary, but we do. And I'm willing to admit that yes, I have a magical map. Because, I mean, it's canon to the story, because at some point I'm sure we'll meet Inigo, and Inigo will tell us about it, all about it. And then track I don't need. Game is so plentiful, really don't even have to search for it. You'll be looking for game, and then all of a sudden you're ambushed by 3 wolves and a frostbite spider. And weather sense. I don't need to sense the weather. It's usually pretty clear. And also well-being will usually give me an idea of the weather, which of course we have mapped to N right now. So there we go. And there is our much more sensible, not cluttered at all power list. And then as I will show you here in our MCM, where did it go? Shout organizer, where are you? There you are. Powers. I don't know why it says removed 43. I'm guessing it's being slightly buggy right now. But normally it would show you a list of all the things you'd removed, and you'd be able to add them back in. Oh, there they are. Apparently there are a bunch of random unseen powers that it has removed. But here are all the ones that we removed. Oh, I suppose these are other ones that could have been added from the mods if I had told it to. If I had told the individual mods to add them. there we go. And yeah, like I said, spell organizer is pretty much the same thing. Right, and with that, Naarifin Foxfang is pretty much ready to go. So I'm just going to double check his inventory right here. We don't want to be carrying the Book of Homies around with us. Because yes, I have my home is your home, but I really don't need a book that tells me where I've put everyone as a home. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to remember it, unless I literally give a new home to every single follower in the game. I mean, even if I do, I'll probably just have like 50 people chilling at like Lakeview Manor or Heljarken Hall or something like that. Just imagine every vanilla follower and a lot of the mod added ones just chilling in Breezeholm. You walk in the door and you are stuck. You cannot move. Alright, so that is all ready to go. Now all that's left is to talk to the statue of Mara.
Approach, my child, and choose where your new life shall begin.
I got caught crossing the border illegally. Vanilla start.
Such is the strange and twisted hand of fate.
I just wanted to double check one thing on our mod configuration here. Where did it go? I assume we'll get the journal in our inventory the first time we perform. But if not, we can always check back here on the MCM. I just prefer having actual in-game things like that to check. Right, so yeah, everything is good to go. So next time I'll see you, we will be starting the actual playthrough of the Tale of Naarifin the Skald. Alright, so thanks for hanging out with me today. I have been some guy you've never heard of, unless of course you have. Feel free to subscribe, ring that bell icon if you'd like notifications, if that's how YouTube works these days anymore. And feel free to like and or dislike as you see fit. Comment if there's any questions you have, just any general comments you want to make. Feel free, and take care and have a wonderful day.